So I will call this meeting to order at 10:01. Two board members have sent their regrets. Mr. Grover and Mr. Stevens not able to join us today. Adoption of the agenda. The delegation will be in at 11:40. And are there any additions or anything anybody wants?
I'll move the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Larry. All those in favor? And carried. Adoption of minutes from the November 27th meeting. They have been distributed. Anybody see any issues with the minutes? Ernie?
I'll accept them, please.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? And carried. Our delegation is the Stettler seed cleaning plant at 11:40. Moving on into reports at 5.1, the Ag Service Board Administration Report. And Farah, you'll give that one?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we have done a lot of administrative work on some of the conditional grants and bylaws and letters that we had since last meeting. We are working on some continuity documents, so Ag for Dummies kind of manual we've started. So beyond beyond that, we've done field and training and some updates of documents for 2025. Board meetings. We attended the county Christmas party and helped set up for that. We did conference with you guys at Ag Service Board. We've transitioned to or conducted a handoff meeting to be in charge of the small area parks mowing. So we're working on moving through that. We did some wild boar trapper training. So at the end, there's a little memo from the province on how that went. I thought it was super interesting. We assisted with a land property rights tribunal presentation, which we'll look at later in the meeting. We've got some air brakes training and some class 3 training. Lots of committees and other training that you guys have done. We completed our Ag Service Board grant application, so we should hear more about that later in the spring on what of our asks were fulfilled. We've got a trade show at the Bull Congress. We've got policy reviews. One of our other staff is working very hard to get his applicator license, so that will help him move forward and help the department gain some more independence from just having one person with their spray license. We've got lots of workshops. We'll talk about those in the extension report, and then we've been working on updating some of our rental equipment. So later on, we've got pictures of the tree planter, and it looks night and day different. The guys repainted it and did some work on the wheel bearings and stuff. And then we're just working on getting that new truck up and running and transitioning to a new mapping software.
Mr. Clark.
I got two questions back to Farah.
Yeah.
The 1080, as I was reading through, I didn't realize it was gopher control, but why were they pulling that back? Was it
1080 is skunk and coyote. So it's the
coyote?
yeah, it's the little baits that you put out to get skunk and coyote control. You put it in the carcass, and they recalled it just for labeling purposes. So I don't think it'll be a long-term recall. They just have to repackage the label because right now it's a pill bottle with a little sticker that says this is 1080, but it doesn't have all of the safety requirements and the pest product number and stuff.
The part I looked at just said the 1080 piece, and I thought, what is it for, number one?
Yeah, it's
okay.
yeah, coyote and skunk.
The other question was wild boar.
Yep.
And if we don't, like, the government kind of has tried to downgrade the problem, but there was 140 or 100 and plus 100 wild boars last year captured in Alberta.
Yeah.
So I hope that somebody reads that, and it could be an issue. That's 100. That's that many.
Captured or killed?
Killed, I think.
Because I think they killed some without capturing.
But that's that's a bigger issue than just isolated to a couple.
Yeah, and I think it's in their radar now, because when the chairs and directors met with the as Deputy Minister of Agriculture before the conference there, he said the province is taking eradication really seriously now, and they are assigning a full-time member to that piece. So I think it's been elevated quite a bit.
And they're,
I was just gonna comment about, and I had spoken with Alberta Ag last fall as well, similarly when we were having some problems, and they did give us the mysterious indication that something big should be announced in the spring. So fingers crossed.
and like with that early detection rapid response, they're working as part of this program. They're trying to get trained people sprinkled throughout the province. So they have contractors that would do it full time, but they're trying to get traps and train people kind of sprinkled throughout so that if you find that one boar, you can maybe nip it right in the bud there and just trap it instead of having to go through the province and order it from Edmonton and wait for it to get shipped and wait for someone to come be able to deploy it. So it was really interesting training. The guy that invented the hard panel traps from Georgia came up and taught us how to use it, and he was upset that it wasn't minus 30 and he couldn't feel minus 30.
Couldn't bottle it for me.
Well, it came later. Ernie, you had a question?
You had already asked the question about 1080.
1080, okay. And I was just wondering too, what was the traffic like at the county booth at the Bull Connors?
Mr. Jackson was at that booth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if I may, 1, 2, there we go. So overall, traffic was somewhat light. The conversations, of course, at an event like that were held more so throughout the group. While the show was going on, people are watching, things like that. I did myself walk through and had different conversations with different people at the Congress during the show itself. But I mean, conversations are very light at that point in time. Being as in a lot about it is the time of year. It's good to have the presence there and you are able to relay some of the information, but people are, more of the fact that give me a contact number, and when it warms up, that's when the trigger comes and they start thinking about more of those items that are forefront of their mind. So there was some of that interaction, whereas by all means, we've got some of these things coming up, give us a call, and they were more apt to do and want that communication than they were looking for specific information on that date and time.
Right. I went through on Friday afternoon, and I thought the booth looked good. It looked like it had a lot of information, and I think just the awareness piece now, even if people didn't ask questions that day, they're fully aware where to go in the future.
It does allow for them to understand the accessibility for staff and where they can, if I get this back in here working. So it does, just to repeat myself into the mic, it does allow for the accessibility, and people understand that there is the opportunity for them to be able to access staff or a place that they can call to start their research at. So much of what everyone's doing these days is online, but sometimes it's daunting where to start and what information or who are the people that you can trust when you're looking for that online source. So we are, a good start for them to come to, and then give them a directional arrow as to what the next step may be for them in their path to find more information on what they're looking for.
Okay. Sounds good. Vera, do you want to continue with your workshops and things coming up? Or?
Yeah. I'll go to the extension report then. So our first workshop of the year was the Cultivating Good Mental Health. So we had presenters Doreen Bloomhagen, Amanda Wagner, and then a practitioner panel of 3 mental health specialists, and we had 24 attendees. The Q&A panel with the practitioners, I thought it was going to be like quiet. No one was going to ask questions. We got 5 or 6 questions texted in. We had an anonymous text line, and people were asking tons of questions. So it was super good and engaging. And there was lots of positive comments from that workshop. The next one, we went to partner with Battle River Research Group and did an environmental farm plan workshop. So there was 13 attendees. Those kind of environmental farm plan workshops work best when it's a smaller group because it's kind of a teacher-student setting. So we get people rolling on the first couple chapters, navigating the workbook. And then beyond that, we're helping them when they have questions with how do I actually improve where my fuel's stored compared to my well, or some of those questions. And we've already got 2 plans completed and approved from that workshop.
Go ahead.
No, and I'm not sure, this was brought up to me about the farm plan workshop. How long does it, once you've done it, is it a review in 5 years or something? 10, okay, so, but at the end of the 10 years, have you done some of those reviews yet, 10-year reviews?
I haven't done the renewal, but
So what I was understanding was that if you haven't made marked improvements, they're basically giving you a fail on it, and then that fail basically, and I know there isn't a fail, but they're just saying that this isn't working for you or it hasn't worked for you. And now they're using some of these, and I wasn't too clear. I said I would look into it a little bit more, and I haven't had a chance. But they were saying that if you don't have it, some of these organizations that lean on you heavily for specialty products, I think more on the organic side and more on the large contract side, are basically saying if you're not doing that, they don't want to do business with you. So have you heard anything along that lines?
the program is really an on-farm risk assessment. It's not a report card or a grade in any way. So in theory, you can do everything wrong, and as long as you've written down, like, there is no right answer. The only wrong answer is to not think about it at all and just brush all of the risks off. But there's no like checkbox for marked improvement.
Okay, and I think what they were getting at, where they were looking, whatever this individual was talking about in the contract that they were talking about, is they looked at their farm plan and used it as a guide for contracts. And I'm not sure, like I said, I got to do a little bit more
Okay.
research into that.
So that would be like probably working with private industry or some of those, like, I know the malting group, RAR Malting, has a little bit of higher standards, so they need an EFP gold, and that's a step, not a step above. So there's more things you have to evaluate and steps you have to go through. But I haven't.
So that's where it's at. So yes, that's okay. So this is kind of the base model, and then there's the gold standard.
You have to.
I'm sure that's where that was. I didn't want to bring that name up, but that was who was doing it. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And I think that gold use a 5-year renewal plan?
I think it's a little bit more stringent. Yeah.
Okay. So that's where that was. I just was wondering about it. Just more for information than anything.
Our next workshop was on February 12th, where we had Toso Bosic come out and we did the tree planting and care workshop. We had 17 people there. Mr. Gender was there. So thanks for coming.
Right up front.
Yeah. And we had 22 people registered. We were able to distribute the 15% off discount code, and people asked a ton of questions. They were super engaged. Toast was really good at keeping people engaged. So you go around the room and say why you're there, and he'll call back to you and be like, oh, you're the shelter belt guy, and keep you engaged for the workshop. So that was good. One of the things that came up from the engagement at this workshop was the possibility of the county having a tree mulch or a wood chip pile for people to draw from. I don't know what we think about that, but that came up twice in the evaluations, and it was a discussion at the workshop.
Is there, Mr. Sheriff, I'm pretty sure if you go to the Stettler transfer site, there's a big pile of tree mulch and they allow you to take from.
I was actually thinking the Erskine transfer site comes to mind as well.
They got a lot more branches, but the Stettler one is where those large companies go into the Stettler transfer site and dump there, and there's a huge one. In the past, I have grabbed some from there, but you have to load it yourself or con somebody to come down with a skid steer, which I'm pretty good at. So. I just don't like shoveling that much, but I've seen many people in there. So I think there is that possibility. Maybe check with the Stettler Waste Management, see if that's a possibility, but both those, Erskine would be a good site as well, for sure. If we could clean it up a little bit, maybe, right?
Okay, I didn't know those were a thing, so good to know. For tree order program, we've got the orders are open until March 17th. Both of our tree program voucher winners from the county fair have been contacted, and we're working with them on getting their orders in. As of when the report was written, we only have 3 orders with 158 trees.
More than Justin Trudeau planted.
Then on the 20th of February, we were partnering with Yvonne Sprangers, YS Egg Consulting, so that's Yvonne, and the Egg Society to do the Central Alberta Agronomy Roundup. We had 38 attendees. 13 of those were trade show people, so our trade show was quite robust. And we had a bunch of speakers from government and industry and different university researchers, and we were offering pesticide applicator credits and crop advisor credits. And people seemed to really love this workshop too. There was quite a few informative speakers and lots of people asking questions for that one too. And then tomorrow we have the Ladies Livestock Clinic in Rumsey. So that's with Special Areas in Starland County. We have 115 people registered for that one. So I think it'll be a full hall in Rumsey. With that, we've also done a veterinary mentorship session. So before the calving clinic, we're doing a vet mentorship session. So the County of Stettler has sponsored 5 young ladies from local 4-H clubs to get a 1-hour mentorship from a local vet and then vets from the U of C. And we're hoping to increase interest in the vet profession and kind of make our people maybe more apt candidates to be accepted because they've got the inside scoop from this mentorship session. So I'm super excited for tomorrow. I think it'll go quite well.
That is a good idea, I think, to plant the seed early.
And then there's just an extension summary from the year. So we've done 8 total extension activities, including 3 events, 4 consultations, and 1 written material. So that's the County Connections newsletter. So that's why our written distributed copies are so high. Then some of the consultations would be environmental farm plans or different calls about the Sustainable CAP program. And then we've had 68 attendees at workshops this year so far.
I like this summary. I really do.
This is from the ASB grant report. So these are metrics that we have to report on for the grant. So
It helps. Well, it helps me. I don't know about any other.
I thought it was cool.
I like it.
Yeah, no, it's good. And it's good to see the uptake in these workshops. They seem pretty popular. And I see you've slated for 2026 the farm succession planning. Will that feature Elaine Frazee again as a?
We've got Reg Chandro tentatively slated in for that.
Okay.
So we talked to him. I was talking to him in the fall, and he said he wasn't ready to sign an agreement because it's so far out he could die. So we're just working on partnering with him, but
Okay.
penciled in on the calendar.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Any questions? Further questions on Mayor's 2 reports?
If you don't have any, I'll give you a receipt for information on that.
Okay, on both of them?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor? And that's carried. There was no board's request for information and no business arising, so we can move right into new business. 8.1, the Ag Service Strategic Plan on page 26 of your package.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'll speak to this. So what we have in front of you is a request for decision to adopt the County of Stettler's Ag Service Board's 2025 to 2028 strategic plan. Just a background on this, we felt as though because Ag Service Board and our Ag Service Department does have the board that we work with very closely, as well as interacting with the producers throughout the County of Stettler, that we wanted to ensure that we had clear direction and a fundamental goal set in place as we move forward through the years to ensure that we're meeting both the focus and targets that the Ag Service Board
favors as well as producers in the area. So this egg service strategic plan was put together and outlines the strategy that we plan to move forward with. If there's any questions, feel free, and we can go through that.
James?
So, Mr. Chair, in fact, you and I had this conversation about how we're finding that the agricultural service and especially the Egg Service Board has fallen out of one of the things of the egg for the county of Stettler, agriculture services has always been a primary thought pattern. We've always said that we're an egg county, and I think I still believe that. The fact that we did the last strategic planning on this was in 2018 says it's time for me to say that we need to do an update. I'm thinking that this would be an afternoon session where we put our heads together, talk about anything that needs to be done, and look at updating this plan. I'm not really thinking that this is just a rubber stamp. And the only reason I think this comes as a timely point because of a couple of things. Number one, some staff changes. Number two, the opportunity to refocus what we are doing with egg services in the county of Stettler and how we treat it. For example, Farah's just report about the mentoring program with the vets. I think that's a huge add-on. Maybe it should be part of our strategic plan to look and to go forward with. So my thought pattern, and I'd like to hear the other board members, is if that would be something we would be interested in. Something in-house. I don't think this has to be reinvent the wheel, but I think we need to put focus in a stronger light on it.
Okay.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just speak to some of the comments from Mr. Nyberg. I agree with what you're saying and the fact that, you know, it is a good opportunity for us to refocus and take a look at this. The current one that we have submitted to you here now was one that we had put together in regards to, you know, the discussions that we've had with the Egg Service Board as well as council, as you know, to the interests and focus from their vision in those conversations, as well as what we feel as though our mandate and our targets are as a department as well, especially with the upcoming or the current staff change that we are in, and myself as an interim fieldman, we felt as though this is a good thing to have in place to ensure that we've got that structure and that focus and that target as we move forward and transitioning from one to another, you know, as we keep taking those steps forward, ensuring that we're not losing the sight line of where we're going. And a lot of what you're speaking of, like, you know, the vet mentorship and things of those natures, they are covered underneath this strategic plan. It's not specific in the fact that the strategic plan, of course, is higher level and looking at that gauge. But I would definitely see that potential avenue that you're looking at, maybe strengthening and encouraging, you know, is promoted underneath like our section number 4, in that we're, you know, improve knowledge of farm innovation and sustainable practices. We are trying to reach out there and get those young guys in there and get the knowledge and have them come back to our communities for sure. So there are definitely rooms for adaptations, but we want to make sure that we stay very high in general with it.
Fair enough. And so one of the other things, Mr. Jackson, I think this is 100%, I agree with you, this is a timely thing, but I do believe that this board should be one of the key components of making the strategic plan go forward. One of the things that we had talked about in the past was, and asked at the Egg Service Board conference, was that we sit as all of council here with no members at large. So again, 2018 may be a little bit too late of a timeline for me to say that I'm comfortable going forward. I don't take away from staff at all, but this is 100% staff initiative. I get it. You're trying to read our minds to do this, but I would really like to have that conversation. And again, I don't want to put the Egg Service Board on the back burner. I think it needs to be focused a little higher.
Okay. Farah?
Just one more thing to clarify. In the past, the Egg Service Board has kind of always had a strategic business plan. The old Egg Service Board grant used to be a large business plan with pictures, and we called it the fluffy strategic plan. And that was the grant application. The grant application is transitioned more to a typical, what you'd think of an application, fill in the blank here, put in your bullet points in the text boxes. So this is an adaptation of that, just like we've done in the past. So it's reflective of the Ag Service Board grant, more so than individually developed by staff. But
And Mr. Chairman, please staff don't take this wrong. I am not at all, I think this is great. I just don't think this is a great skeleton, just not enough meat on the bones for me to say that a true strategic plan should come from the board within. And again, reading our minds is a dangerous thing to do.
No, absolutely, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
And I myself and Farah both, you know what, we'd have no issue. If that's what the board wishes to move forward with, is maybe more of a bit of a sit down in a session that we can go through and grind some more ideas out and further the direction. Absolutely. I mean, this is something that we definitely want to have in place as we move forward and have that representation and the focus of the board as well involved in it. So.
Mr. Chair, again. Two things that I think are very much have been two key issues that have changed are our thought pattern on the Battle River Research Group and our thought pattern on the seed cleaning plan. So two big items that the Ag Service Board looks at. I think we as the board, instead of having a round the table conversation for 5 minutes at a time, maybe we should delve into what is our real feelings on a go forward basis to make that happen.
Any input from the other board members on getting together for a workshop, brainstorm a bit more? Larry?
I certainly don't see harm in the workshop whatsoever. I think it does. And as much as anything, it can bring awareness or definition to what the higher bare bones plan is. But on the other hand, as far as our focus on agriculture, I think we need to Stettler County still has a big majority of agriculture, but on the other hand, we have to look at it as our whole strategic plan too. So it wouldn't hurt to have that discussion.
Paul, Ernie?
No, I'm in with that too. Like, it should be maybe broadened or relooked at, because it has been quite a few years since the last time it was done. So yeah, it's good.
Board, Ernie?
You bet.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd make the motion that we have administration look at a scheduling for an afternoon. Would you think that would, I don't know, and do an in-house strategic plan?
Yeah, if, Mr. Chairman, if I may, what I think we do, if your motion does just reveal the fact that the Ag Service Board would like to have time set aside, and we can start out with a session and, I mean, basically plan from there and move in that direction and see how it flows for you guys, and we'll go from there.
Good. Does that work for you, Michelle?
Do you want to try and actually set a date today? It's so much harder to schedule, guys, when you're not here.
If I can, Mr. Chairman, I was thinking, maybe if we could hold off until May. And Nikki should be back on Canadian soil, and Christy could then, with Farah, work it, if that is acceptable to you.
Makes good sense.
And Mr. Chairman, I agree with Mr. Grishik about the idea of having it go forward. Maybe at our May meeting, we could make the date planning there. Just my schedule gets filled up fairly quickly, but get closer to that date when we're all here, maybe when all seven is on the May meeting.
We could, maybe not May, but before the hand, set it up for sometime May or June, whatever. Sure. Okay. James' motion is asking for the workshop and likely not before May, but all those in favor? And carried. Moving on to 8.2, request for decision on the policy on vegetation control, page 29 of the package.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So with our overall, basically departmental changes that we're making and
review of our processes and how we're achieving our goals and our targets as we move through. One of the things we come across was the fact that we were basically mirroring a vegetation control brushing program in ag services, as well as a brushing program in public works. So seeing that, we felt as though we wanted to incorporate somewhat of our vision and our plan moving forward, and review these two policies, clean them up a little bit, and then in fact make them so that they intertwine a lot more smoothly with each other, just as we intend for basically the process and the plan moving forward in the field. So if you have any questions, we can start reviewing that now.
Okay, Ernie?
On point number 9, like the townships that are in for the vegetation control, what was that really directed towards?
If I may, those would be the 3 zones that we do our roadside spray program for. So the north, south, central.
I'm not really sure if I recollect it right, but all seen back several years, there was one brought in for the control of a, oh, what the heck weed is it? No, the one in our gravel pits. So like, I thought that was brought forward back then, and it was supposed to have been updated and changed like over years, something like that, if my recollection is correct.
Correct. So that was like a separate program to address that specific weed that we were looking to control at that time, that program. Number 9 here is what is basically, and as Farah alluded to, this is basically giving you the 3 areas that the County of Stettler is broken down into as we're reviewing them and attacking with roadside spraying on target areas. However, there is inspection and review and control committed throughout the county as well.
Thanks, Larry?
Yeah, and Ernie, this has been brought up numerous times about us having to sometimes jump that, that 3-year cycle because of issues with spray in the past or weather patterns that created higher growth or something. So this has been ongoing ever since I've been in council where they do that pattern.
I was just wondering whether this was related to that.
No, it was 2 different programs.
Yeah, the program.
Naming townships.
Correct.
These are the thirds.
Yeah, the program you're thinking of was called the Priority Area Weed Control Program, or POC. We shortened it to try and ease in the control of absent wormwood as we elevated it to a noxious weed.
Thank you.
Okay, so any thoughts on the adjustments of the vegetation control? It's more or less just to make it work more smoothly.
Yeah, so if I may, I can give you a little further
Okay.
information to digest it. So basically what our intention is the fact that ASB Ag Services and Public Works are working together in the fact that we're both trying to achieve the same goal with brush control as well as vegetation control along our roadways and our municipally owned lands. So what we're looking to do here is we were cleaning up the policies and the fact that a lot of what they were stating were somewhat competing against each other in the fact that we were trying to operate 2 programs that were initially trying to complete the same task at the end of the day. This allows us to be able to operate and manage it underneath our operations canopy and be able to utilize the services of both Public Works and Ag Services to their strengths for those particular items that are with it. So.
Larry?
I think you answered my question at that point. Is this is as much as anything a scheduling thing, so that when Public Works is ready for services to be done in an area, if you have to combine other things with it, that you schedule
Absolutely.
services to be there to spray.
Right, and then it's basically a supporting role for either or. It's Public Works supporting Ag Services and the goals that they're trying to achieve with vegetation control, as well as Ag Services supporting Public Works in regards to our vegetation and brushing that we're trying to achieve in certain areas along our roadways and such. So ensuring that they're both working together and that the policies reflect that relationship is what we're looking to do here.
So just clarity for the right hand to know what the left hand's doing, basically.
Absolutely, and ensuring that
the support is that at the end of the day, we're achieving our goal and that we are actually gaining ground and moving forward and reducing the chance that we may have sporadic areas of issues or concerns that were missed by one or the other due to just the two programs.
It is quite expensive to do brushing, so once you got it done, you want it kept under control. So if it gets missed enough times in the spray follow-ups, then all of a sudden you're back brushing again.
Right, and it does allow, we have introduced a procedure and a focus as to how we're going to move through those projects, ensuring that we are returning to them, making sure that we have the control from the spray that we require and we desire, and then being able to close that file and move on to the next ones and keeping the priority list moving and going through.
So, any more discussion?
Just one quick clarification on the policy front. One of the big changes here is when council sets a policy for brushing, it's tricky for both the public and even staff to go and say, oh yeah, well, the mechanical control of the brushing is in the public works policy, but then when we spray it, it's over in this policy. The what should be under one policy, the who is a to figure out kind of thing. So this just, separates the different priorities of council into different, or to stay together in one policy.
I'd just like to interject that in budget, one of the biggest wastes of money that I think happens is that we brush, we miss it on the spray program, and then we're back brushing again. Once we brush, we should eliminate the issue and the problem and save ourselves some money, time, and frustration.
And I agree 100%. I think too, though, what I understand, and I don't know the operations very well, but brushing can be done in inclement weather necessarily, and then so it's not above this country to get inclement weather for a week at a hand, and I understand how this can be lost in the paperwork. You go out, brush a bunch of brushing, and then you get a week of crappy weather and they move on to something else. So yeah, this clarity makes sense to me too.
Okay. Any other input? No, I think I can invite a motion to approve this motion. Go ahead, Larry.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Larry's made the motion to approve these updates. All those in favor? And carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Moving on into the correspondence section. There, I think I'll pull out to 9.22, the Rising Stars Cattle Clinic request for some sponsorship. It's on page 83 of the package. Last year, they had applied to the Community Enhancement Program. I believe that's our new one. Is that our new program for events or not? The event. And council at that time thought it should be moved to ASB because it was an ag program for youth and it would be better suited coming out under our program. So they're holding another clinic this year with one of the better speakers in North America, I understand. They've expanded their program as per our wishes to include marketing. And it's before us today for a funding request. I think last year we funded it out of the ASB extension program piece in our budget. And so I guess I would invite discussion on this topic. Oh, Arnie?
So last year, to what extent did we fund this?
Believe 1,200. Yeah, Vera had looked it up and it was $1,200 last year. In speaking with Maureen, she said, they would definitely be happy with what we could give. I was thinking more of $1,000, tone it down a bit. Greg?
If I may as well, Mr. Chairman, we also did donate the use of the scale
That's true.
for their event during that.
Should be possible again. It wouldn't be booked with it in March.
Be able to work with them as well, yeah.
Yeah, they certainly did appreciate that. And I think if you remember last year, they did follow up as a delegation and give us a report back on how their event had went.
And the jacket.
Oh, yeah.
And I was supposed to be shared, but I never got to wear it.
Well, I haven't wore it yet.
I haven't put it into service. Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion that we donate 1,000. I just wonder budget wise, where does this come from again?
Well, I think it would be out of our ASB extension.
And is it in the budget? Did we plan for this to be in the budget?
Well,
They probably have a nominal number, but we can tighten it up when we come back to set the mill rate. And we can back it up with, if there's short funds, we can take it out of rural development.
okay, that's some time, Larry.
Just a question on the power too. Maybe if you could chat with, I don't know if they just asked about renting generators, but we have businesses within our area that this is for youth. So possibly maybe if, maybe they could make a deal where they could get a reduced rent or rent for fuel or something like that too, because it is for youth in our area. A lot of our businesses do back that, so as long as they get a receipt for it.
Right. Okay, I'll pass that information along to them because, yeah, it is, youth does have a little priority when it comes to sponsorship. So maybe the locals would step forward because you cannot run an event like that off of the power that's in a building. So they do need all the backup generators.
Especially if the youth wouldn't even ask for it, it might help substantially.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Send the cutest little kid, eh? Okay, James has got a motion on the table to sponsor the Rising Stars Clinic for $1,000. All those in favor? And that one is carried. Farah, you had a couple pieces of correspondence you were going to draw our attention to, I believe 9.8, 9.12.
Yeah, so 9.8, Northern Sunrise County has written us, yeah,
That one is on page 58.
Northern Sunrise County has written us a letter of support for the letter that we wrote to the Minister of Ag for the Agriculture Pest Act pertaining to wild boar. So just bringing to your attention the support that we have for that.
We have a friend in Karina. Moving to 9.12, you had flagged that one. I think we spoke on it a bit, but that's on page 65.
Yeah, we talked about the 1080 recall a little bit more. So if there's no more questions, we can move on from that one.
Okay. 925, Wheatland County on page 88.
So, historically, different ag service boards had put on summer tours. Those had kind of gone by the wayside during the COVID era, and Wheatland County is bringing it back for next summer sometime. So that's exciting.
It's good to see those come back. Yeah, it's been stalled a long time.
Question on the next one if I can, on 9.26.
Sure.
All the letters from Macomb County.
I think it's just a glitch when we combined all this stuff. There's like 8 letters or letters of the same thing.
Well, it's, each one's addressed to a separate senator.
But should we have all been doing that?
Well, to go to every senator?
I think we, I don't remember what we did, but
They got more money for paper.
I guess.
That's what I can't remember. Did Stettler County or did we write a letter on C-293? Can't
we did
remember.
write a letter. I just don't remember if we addressed it to.
It was one letter.
One letter. Oh,
But I think we CC'd a bunch of people on it.
Okay, well, it was just, you going through it, I was going through it this morning.
yeah. I looked at the same thing. I think they're not the only one that did that. They included a letter to each individual senator. But I guess it's squeaky wheel.
Not a hot button issue at all, is it? Eh?
No. It's pretty major. It could shut down agriculture in many ways if they took it to its full extent. I mean,
And I did notice some were writing, look like to their MLAs, and they had different MLAs surrounding their areas, but I took it as.
and MPs as well, because it's a federal issue. Yeah. MPs, yeah. And then Farah, you flagged 9.31 ag no on page 115.
Yeah, so in the fall, we'd given AgNo some funding and support, so they just rolled out a director update. So the funding that they got from lots of the municipalities was able to extend their programming for 4 months past when they thought their end date would be. They're having some stakeholder engagement sessions in March, and they're hoped to be back rolling again in April. So that's all very promising. Other discussions with ministers of mental health and agriculture have showed lots of support for the AgNo program. And then the correspondence item before this has a federal farmer mental health crisis line as well. So that mental health thing is a big forefront in some of the programming that people are doing around agriculture.
And I think it's important to keep that in the forefront. I know I believe it was yesterday that the Hannah community lost a young man to mental health. So it's pretty sad. So it's good to see that there's still a focus on help for that. So is there anything else in the correspondence? It's quite a long list of correspondence we received. Most of it is just the CC of letters. C90, 293, but there's no other discussion on correspondence. I would invite a motion to accept it for information. Paul?
I will do so.
All those in favor? And carried. Moving on to 10.1, a year-to-date financials, a verbal report. Who's giving that, Greg?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as we are early into the budget year, there is not entirely a lot to relay. However, I did make a couple of notes. It's if there isn't a day that I don't learn something, it must be a Saturday or a Sunday or something, because every day I learn something new at my job. It's great. So I did notice we did have some work done at the Scholard well. With required work in order to make it operational and continue on with that well. We had only budgeted for that Scholard well $1,000, which, as we all know, it doesn't take long if you're hiring a contractor to come and do some work. As a skilled tradesman, you burn up $1,000 rather quickly between labor and materials. So we have already exceeded the $1,000 budget allocation on the Scholard well. So what I'm proposing is this spring I'll be doing a review on all 3 of our well services that we have for agricultural producers. So that's Scholard, Nevis, and the Indiang, or the Walker well, sorry, wells. I'm going to be doing a general overview on each of those locations, and I'll be able to bring back to Ag Service Board kind of a fundamental review report on each of those to show where they are at, where we would like them to go, as long, if the board still feels as though that those are valuable assets, where we would like to go to ensure that we're planning in the future to keep these functional, and that any budget allocations that are going to be going towards those are going to be researched and supported, so that we don't see the varying fluctuations that we have in the past with those. So yeah, so that's the one note that I would like to make. And other than that, we are moving through. There will be some light adjustments or changes that might be required. More so, but we should be good. Just to speak to one, we are working with our staff on their training. And that is something that we definitely want to ensure that we have is adequate training to all of our staff, seasonal and otherwise, to ensure that we're offering the best and most efficient practices available as we're going through our busy season. So those are things that we will see a little bit more of an investment in as we go forward.
Okay, James. Oh, James then, Larry.
So on the Walker, the Scholard, and the Nevis well, do we have volumes out of those wells at all?
As in how much
water is going down? Are we just making assumptions right now, right?
There was flow meters, and we would go and manually record what the flow was, but I think we had problems with the meter reads. So Last year, we did not have recordings of the volume that's going out of that well or those wells.
I guess if I may.
The comments, calls, and or concerns regarding the function and operation of each of those wells, if that is any indication of maybe the volume of people that are utilizing them, or maybe a minimal group that's utilizing them, but they seem to be throughout the summer months are being utilized.
And I get it, but I mean, if you've got, 20 guys using a 45-gallon drum out of there, okay, well, I get it. I mean, maybe it's still good, but I mean, if it's costing us, thousands of dollars to run just for 45-gallon barrel of drum, wouldn't it be easier to set up a truck? Would it be cheaper to go around and haul it for them?
And if I may, Mr. Chairman, to continue on with that train of thought that Mr. Nyberg has there, that is somewhat of the fundamental goal that we have to have, direction of. As an operations department, we will keep them running. However, if it deems that the cost investment to these is exceeding the value that we feel that they are, we need to revisit it and look at it at a different angle.
So something we could put on that strat plan review, I think, maybe.
Yeah, I know firsthand for the Walker well, there was farmers that were hauling 2 big tankers out of there every day. Like, I mean, I pity them to have to haul water to their cattle twice a day, every day, that their pastures, I mean, the sloughs were dry, dugots were dry, so they were hauling every day. So it was I'm sure if it would have, the flow meter would have been working, there would have been quite a volume going through that one. And in my opinion, is you never get rid of a water source in this country. And drought is just what they say, like 3 months away or something. You never know. But and then Larry,
I have a comment on that. Like the one individual that was trying to load, was loading 7,000 gallons. That's a super B. That's 31, almost 32 cubic meters. Like, to me, we got maybe, we're drawing hard on aquifers that maybe the people hauling the tote tanks and the 1,250 gallons can haul a lot of water out of there. But we start to haul those big loads out of these wells and we're not recording how much water it is. We do have water sources in the area where they can go and haul that. But that amount, when Yvette and I had a conversation that one evening, and very upset, the individual was very upset because the well went dry, basically. Well, no wonder the well went dry. That was a very huge draw out of the well. So
We can't put water in a well. That's not our gig.
you can, but I mean, you'd have to have a truck right behind the one dumping in. So maybe
I don't think they allow you. That's illegal.
maybe we need to, they call it shock chlorination. Maybe that's something on wells we need to somewhat coordinate that, and each well has a little different glitch to it too with how the water's being used. And if we had water at each site, we have a lot of people haul out of Gadsby. There's no wells to haul out of there, and they're hauling livestock water out of there on a daily basis. So
Yeah, I think we always have to remember that the water out of the Nevis, Walker, and Scholar wells are free, and the truck fills are available. But the main concern is, maybe we can put a camera up and see who's going in. Because I agree, those Super Bs, they draw the well down so bad. And that was our number one complaint last summer, was that the wells didn't recover. So, I mean, you're hitting the switch, nothing's coming out, but you won't give the switch, 15 minutes to recover. So those are always our biggest concerns, is that they're taking a lot of water, and I agree, they need it because they're watering cattle. The other one is do we put a nominal fee on it? But then I don't know how we would ever charge for it.
I think
Access fee. You could put an access fee.
Yeah, I think this is all good discussion, probably in our new strat plan discussion, what our ag water piece, where it should look to be.
and I agree because like the fee, a small fee, at least they're paying towards, it's a small user fee, as we talk about and everything.
And that's is where everything is going today, user pay a bit, so. Okay, and any more financial pieces? Okay, a motion to accept the verbal financial report. Ernie? All those in favor? Carried. Just before we move on to the next one, I was just gonna mention of the moisture or precipitation reports in the package. I really like seeing them every month, even though if we don't even fully discuss them, but it's quite interesting how to see how moisture has shifted in these last periods, that the east half of the province is wetter than the west half. And last night on the Calgary News, they had a real grass fire at Calgary. There's no snow there at all. And it's just like some of them, it's really quite interesting to see how all the brown and orange is on the west side of the province in some of them
Are you
maps.
bragging or complaining?
I'm bragging that our east central Alberta is getting moisture, so I'm quite happy. But that was my only
I
comment
thought
on that.
maybe you'd be complaining that there's too much moisture.
Never, 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 no. And then moving on now to 11.1, ASB Chair Meeting Report, which is on page 116. This was the opportunity for the chairman and the directors to hear from the assistant or the deputy minister of agriculture. I think a couple pieces. The ASB grant funding was approved for 5 years renewal, which is one of the longer ones. This government is not approving out that many years for most programs. Most of it is 3 or less, maybe. So that, I guess, was very good for ASBs. And the piece on AgNo, John speaks in phrases that don't have definitions. I think, you know how it is, a neutral way. But he did say AgNo funding is in the pipeline. So I'm assuming the province knows the value of the program of AgNo. They didn't have it in that much money in their last budget. So I think the province will be funding that come forward. And also, I think a really encouraging piece was the commitment on wild boar with a full-time employee in that department to work on that one. Any questions on that report?
I was just thinking that full-time employee could be like maybe out in one of the municipalities that have wild boar in it. Just saying, decentralization.
Okay, yeah. Vera?
The full-time employee is the lady that comes out with us to do our inspections.
Where's your office? Edmonton?
Bakerville,
Oh,
I think. She's like a work from home remote worker, but
okay. When they're ending that.
Yeah, so that's good.
But I was just saying, maybe she could be based out of the Stettler office that has all kinds of offices available.
And one piece, on going back to my report on the water review, one piece that they realize is when the province is in dire need of water and restrictions are required, it's just not the rurals and the ag people that have to cut back on water. The urbans need to be involved on water in their lawns or whatever as well.
So, Mr. Chairman, and maybe administration can answer this a little bit. Look, last year with the Shirley McClellan, maybe you can, Mr. Clark.
Russian, we'll see who can answer.
Is
We gave up some allocation, or we opened up some allocation. I can't remember what it was exactly.
It was
Did
actually.
we get it back now?
Andrew?
We agreed to share if needed, and that is, that program is Functus, that it was a 1-year term.
okay.
And unfortunately, like 2024 was not as much pressure on the water system as 2023. So, and then hopefully 25 is even better because, well, at least in our half of the province, we got some snow this year. So, Ernie?
So that shared allocation, is that only relating to each river that those allocations are on?
Yeah, each river basin. So that was, so in our case, and it was only the South Saskatchewan River Basin that was subject to the water sharing agreements because that's where the worst of the issues were predicted. So that includes the Blind Man River, the Red Deer River, the Old Man, all of the tributaries to the South Saskatchewan.
Thank you.
And on the strychnine piece, I mean, the province of Alberta's taking a different approach where just not saying, don't ban it, bring it back. They're demanding more transparency in how these decisions are made. Like the stroke of a pen in a city office decides what affects, rural people across the country. They're demanding a little bit of transparency in this decision making on sort of these sort of things. So that might be a better angle if you get more input from ag. Maybe maybe these decisions wouldn't be made the way they are. And any other questions to my report? If not, I'd ask for a mover to receive for information.
Larry.
Larry, all in favor? And carried. Pardon me. 11.2, the Land and Property Rights Tribunal. Weed control presentation that Larry did, and it's on page 117. Yeah, go ahead.
Farah and I did that, and it was very well received. And even last night, I saw the person we dealt with on the LPRT, Shannon, was at the meeting up at the Ag Society last night and talked about reviewing highlights from it at this next meeting because we've had new board members come on. And said, I said to her that to contact us in regards to their yearly training, and either we, somebody would do it out of Alberta, like out of the ASB group, or out of somebody would do that training, because I think it's a good link with us to the LPRT. And she was also talking about environmental pieces, and I pointed her towards Penelope County. They have a very good person on council that's very familiar with environmental on wells. So I said, that's something else to look at. But so that was very well received, and there was that meeting last night that I want to try and talk about somewhere. I don't know if it's councilor here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I was really impressed with this PowerPoint presentation. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, it was very well put together, and very few questions. And like with the time frame, I thought, did we go through it too quickly? But she said yesterday, no, we didn't. It was because the information was there. We talked the pieces, and she said it filled in the blanks, and we left it to the point if there's any questions to contact us after, and we would certainly give them further explanation. So it was well received. So that I took that as a compliment for our staff and the county staff.
Well done.
Any further questions on that? If not, I'll ask for a motion to receive that one for information. James, all in favor? Carried. The deadlines, I think we went through those in your extension report as well, right? Yep. Tree ordering, March 17th is the deadline. The county, this one maybe we didn't discuss. The County of Stettler Ag Service Board bursary, April 15th is the deadline. And the workshops, we have the ladies livestock clinic coming up tomorrow in Rumsey, and the county will participate in the county fair July 29th to August 2nd. Motion to receive those dates for information. Paul?
I will do so.
All in favor? Carried.
Yes.
We have,
Question, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Sorry. Is this PowerPoint on the webpage?
Only through the package itself, we could probably split it
I
up.
just thought maybe
separately.
we should put a link on our webpage, and then people, because I still have a hard time. I think they're pretty daisies, but apparently they're not.
No, I say daisies are beautiful. They grow so well.
Yeah.
Farah, they did have a copy up at the LPRT from their slide deck, didn't? Yeah, because they put it on. We didn't run that, did we? When we did the presentation to the LPRT.
We put it on, but I can make sure that they have a copy. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think Shannon got the copy because
That would be great. And with a highlighted piece, I'm sure she did, but just so we can confirm that, because yeah, it was a lot of work went into it, and it is very, you're right, it is very good. And even with our weed book, if somehow we could, there's a link to it.
Like weed manual?
Yeah.
Yeah, all of those QR codes at the end.
yeah, I like that too. Yeah, no, it seems like it's so user friendly, easy to follow. Like some things are just like, there's too much there. People just get turned off. They don't even want to go through it all. But this is laid out very, very easy to follow. And then with all the QR codes at the end, I mean, they can access any information they need. So yeah, if we can share that around, it makes good sense. Moving into 14 in a camera session, we have 2 items in camera. If we could get someone to move us in camera, please. Paul,
I'll move us in camera.
all in favor? And carried. Yeah. I knew he was good for something.
It's the waitress.
Yeah.
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 I think this mic, oh, there we go. The mic's on, so you guys have to fight against them.
Good morning, gentlemen. I'm glad you could make it. I'm sorry we were running a few minutes behind schedule. We had quite a bit of an agenda ahead of us, but anyways, we'll go.
Just wait, because you don't have quorum.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We have a few people.
Yeah.
I'm a farmer, you're assuming I was running on time.
There you go.
A farmer.
Yeah.
My apologies.
I know you're right. I did notice that. We'll just have to wait for all our board members to come back from, they had a long morning, like I say, I think they needed a quick break. So you must be happy with the weather change.
Yeah. Pretty nice.
Yeah.
Although it's causing havoc with our scale, water is melting and running in there and ran out of the scale.
Oh, yeah.
It froze it up.
I think you're gonna find, or everybody's gonna find a little of that water where there normally isn't water. Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, we did it, yeah. We, earlier in our agenda package, we seen precipitation maps, and the east half of the province is a lot more precipitation than the west half, which is unusual this year, so we'll take it. Okay, our board's all back. We'll start with introductions. I'll start with Greg. We'll go around and introduce ourselves, and then I'll have you introduce yourselves.
Greg Jackson, Director of Operations and Fieldman.
Michelle Hoover, Legislative Assistant.
Ernie Gender, good morning. Paul McKay, board member.
Larry Clark, good morning.
Russ Stuhlberg, board chair.
James Nyberg, board member.
Sure, Assistant Manager of Ag Services.
Andrew Bishop, Director of Municipal Services.
Steve Alette, Manager of Strategic Initiatives.
Okay, and gentlemen, if you introduce yourselves. And
I'm Lauren Metz, the manager of the Stettler Seed Plant.
Dustin Houston, I guess I'd be the chair.
Lee DeShane, the treasurer of the.
great, glad you could come in. We think it's really important to meet with you folks, 1 or 2 times a year at least, just to see how things are going over at the seed plant. So we have a direct link, I guess, with the board and the management. So we're happy you're here today. And if someone could just give us an update on how things are going over there, that'd be great.
Quick update, a little bit of background history. I've been about 30 years in the seed plant, started in Lougheed and then just part-time to start with and full-time second man. And then I moved to Edgerton Seed Plant and I was managing there for 10 years. And then I went to Owen and I was there 7. And then this job come up, which was closer to my home. And they had been bought out down at Owen, so I wanted to go back to a cooperative environment. And anyway, here I am. So far, it's been pretty pleasant and meeting new people. And plant's been reasonably busy. I'm not sure if the bushels will be where I would like them and the rest of the board, but we're up to, I think it's about 200 and just under 220, 50,000 ahead of what a year ago was. So,
Okay.
so hopefully it'll keep going that direction and we'll see what time goes on and maybe have to get into contacting some of the past customers maybe and go from there. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of my background.
I drew the short straw. I guess they think I can speak, so they sent me to represent the board. I thought I'd start, I know the last time we were here, it was in front of the county, not the Ag Service Board, but I think a lot of the familiar faces. So I'm going to start where we kind of ended off last year. Last time we said we left here, we had a bit of a to-do list. And really here's what it looked like. For us, it was securing financing to get through fall. We knew we were going to have a bit of a crunch over the summer, in light of what had happened in past management and some of the other issues. We need to hire a manager, work with him to build a strong plan, review our pricing structure and our financials and figure out where we needed to be there. find a viable bookkeeping solution because we really didn't have that. We had the accountants, which we couldn't afford, and nobody else. At that point, make sure the plant was ready to go for the fall. And then kind of down the list was build a communications plan, support our business goals, and explore some opportunities to restructure our debt, which, if we take our debt situation out, we'd be in really good shape. As it stands, that's a bit of an albatross around our neck at the moment. So something we have to kind of keep looking to the future and figure out how we can resolve. So how do we do? As we just heard here, we hired Lauren, an experienced sea plant manager, with a basis in working with a co-op. The situation, one of the things he didn't say, one of the reasons he was excited to join us is that we still are a member-driven co-op with the values that support that, right? So we exist to support local farmers. I'd say one of the things going forward, we need to continue to build on that and get kind of more buy-in from our local farmers, but that's why we're here and what we do. So I think we're very happy with what we've seen with Lauren and his ability to bring the plant and kind of get it going and bring some experience here. We hired Ann Davison as our bookkeeper on a part-time basis and had a lot of experience with multinationals and small organizations. She was kind of in between. She'd taken a buyout package from ATCO and was in between. So it's actually worked real well. Ann's done a fantastic job in kind of cleaning up a bunch of that. And we're trying to bring a whole bunch of the services that we were paying the accountants to do in-house, which is never easy. So, and we are in a transition of moving from Gitzel-Critchie over to RWA from an accounting perspective. We just think that probably better fits our values and as a board and what we want to do moving forward. With the help of the county and some late spring and summer business that we were able to drum up and have Bob managing, the former chairman and the man who stepped in to run the plant, we were able to bridge a gap without having to go for further financing and keep our options open there. So we, as a board, we really appreciate the support we have from the county, not only in terms of some of the services and the things that you guys are helping us with, but that financing went a long way to getting us to where we are today. We didn't restructure our debt and the loans because they're all open and interest rates were headed in the right direction. So for the time being, we're kind of letting this play out where it's at. And so we've been able to pay back a little bit more principal than we had probably forecasted. And to be honest, in light of where we were operationally, we weren't in a very strong footing to renegotiate that either. So we're kind of letting it ride at this point, and it seems to be working in our favor, at least for this point, but it's not something that we've lost sight of in terms of something that we need to be aware of and address. We've changed a few operating procedures that the Ag Service Board, I'm not sure if they're aware of, but we removed the two restrictions. Number one, in the past, you had to have seed tested before you came in, and we could process it. And we've removed the restriction on fusarium infected seed. And we did that for a few reasons. Number one, operationally, it allows us to better plan and bring some stuff in off the combine at a time when we're not as busy and it's more convenient, and it helps spread out our cleaning system. Secondly, we have a color sorter whose primary reason for existence and probably the most profitable business will be removing fusarium from infected grain and turning it into a marketable commodity. So it really didn't see, so we asked ourselves, well, why do we have this restriction? And if we look back, it's a historical thing where we wanted to stop the spread of fusarium from our eastern neighbors into our county and into Alberta. We've lost that battle, and we're one of the few plants that wouldn't do it anymore. So operationally, it didn't make sense. Felt like we were playing dad and trying to save farmers from themselves. And also hampering our ability to take advantage of that expensive new piece of equipment, because we're not going to make money taking out a few weed seeds. Really, I think our biggest opportunity will be with fusarium. Now, the last couple of years really haven't presented much opportunity in light of the environmental conditions that we've seen and the growing conditions we've seen. That the fusarium, I'd say, was probably down. I mean, you guys might have a better feel from that, but from what we're seeing anyways coming in, seems to be fairly low. Now, with that said, Lauren started on September 1st and Ann about the same time. So this year has really been a year of learning with the new manager and the new bookkeeper and figuring out a whole bunch of processes out. So we're working with that to try and get better information to do a better job of planning and managing going forward. So, I think we're happy with how that's all going, but maybe not as far ahead as we'd like in terms of some of the forecasting. Just as a refresher, the current officers on the board are Dustin Houston, who's the chairman. Tony Raridan is our secretary. I'm the treasurer. The currently directors are Bruce Reinbold, Daryl Nattasted, Jordan Hooper, and Gord Nitschke. Gord's new to the board. So obviously we'd like to see probably some more involvement as that goes on, and that's kind of some of the things that we'll be working on going forward. So, just quick summary here of what we've learned. Customers seem happy, and Lauren's doing a great job as far as quality of product and customer relations with those and building those relationships with the growers. So we're really happy with that operationally. We are concerned about the volumes in terms of being able to hit some of the numbers that we were hoping to hit this year from a financial perspective. And the costs, like everybody and everywhere, costs that we had are higher than we had anticipated. One of the things I didn't mention that we did raise rates from 70 cents to 85 cents. And that was 85 cents on seed that was booked before December. And it's 90 cents on anything booked afterwards as a bit of an incentive to try and spread the season out, whatever. So what we've learned is that probably wasn't enough. And we're likely going to have to consider a price increase again next year. However, just in talking with the customers and their reaction to the initial price increase, I'm not sure we need to be competitive, but I'm not sure that that's a big barrier because the cost of transport stuff all over the county or anywhere else has gone up as well. So, I think we'll be able to do that in a reasonable manner. And in hindsight, maybe we should have gone higher, but we're also in a position where we wanted to keep the customer base and the farmer base on board and on site. And so I think we need to continue to work better on communications and engaging our customer base. And I think while we've made lots of gains and we're well ahead, we've dug ourselves financially out of a bit of a hole and we're making some gains. I think the summertime will again be another crunch for us this year. In terms of making the jump. I mean, we have about whether Lauren comes to work or anybody comes to work or we open the door or not, we've got about $5,000 in fixed costs on a monthly basis. So I guess that's it, unless you have some questions.
I'm just waiting till he's done. I got two questions actually. Do you guys know the volume of grain that gets cleaned in the county of Stettler? And number two, what would be or who would be your biggest competition?
The biggest competition, I think, is the guys that come into our county and mobile and clean without you guys giving them a permit or anything and then leaving.
That's I kind of thought that was. I just wanted to make sure that was similar. So and I don't want us to have a.
So we have no way to track that.
Yeah. But I mean, from our standpoint, we are the same way. I mean, we would go in and have a conversation with them, but we can't if we don't know that it's happening, right? And we don't want to be, we're not going to set up a snitch line because, I mean, there are people as well, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, everybody should be on the same level playing field. I agree 100%.
We have a pretty good representation on our board, like Lee said, basically in all corners of our county. And I know I do my best down there to try and get the guys that are using the fly-by-night to come in and use our facilities. But lots of them down there, they don't have trucks and they don't want to pay to have a truck. So I guess that's the best option for their.
Well, and my biggest concern of that is like that, and I don't know whether they're fly-by-night or not, or what their reputation is, but if they're coming in and they're not properly cleaned and inspected, are they bringing a contaminant to our community. And that's where I would be looking at that as being the biggest risk to the county of Stettler. Right now, the county's done very well at keeping, I mean, most of the diseases at bay when it comes to that.
Yep.
And kudos to you guys, because it is great that we have somewhere to clean our grain, but I think we need to understand that there is a risk involved in that. Without proper inspection, that one operator could make a hell of a mess in our community, and I just hope that everybody understands that. And the other question is, like, I think what also you need to know is what is the potential? Like, if you guys had everybody, do you know that? Like,
There's no way to know
No.
it, James, but, I mean, the reality is.
There's gotta be evidence,
When
though.
me, say what you will about the manager that we had issues with, he ramped up and we were over 400,000, pushed probably 1 year.
We were over
500,000 bushels of treated seed. So if we were able to get all that business back again, we'd have a very viable.
that's kind of where I was at.
So,
Yeah.
that's what's encouraged us to keep going.
You got to have a goal in mind, and if you hit 500,000 bushels, you would be sustainable and profitable.
We would be more than sustainable.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's what I wanted to know for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
And the bushels are there. It's just we gotta gain back some trust that was lost. I know I've talked to some of the guys that got the runaround from a previous manager, and they refuse.
the
Right.
discussion on the mobile cleaners, my perspective, the only risk to the county is how clean he cleans out between farms, which I think is probably realistically
Pretty good.
pretty marginal risk. James.
Yeah.
And as a seed cleaning plant board, if they don't value, the only thing I've ever heard about mobile cleaners is the quality is never as good as what we'll produce. Right? And as a business owner, I can't chase the last sale, and I don't have time for people who are going to negotiate down to the last penny. Because if that's the discussion that we have, we can't win. Right? I can't win the convenience of going to your farm, and I can't win, and I'm not gonna win the dollars and cents game, right?
And I think that might be the least of your worries, is competing maybe with the mobile
Right.
for the people that are mobile users. But I think if you can achieve getting back the clients you had or the similar volumes, and I think that's really realistic, and I'm sure you can do it. It's just another piece in your business plan is on your communication and public engagement maybe.
And I also think there isn't a volume of grain this year that.
We've had a few dry years
Right?
too. Yeah.
I know on my farm, I was hoping to have some barley, and that just wasn't an option, right?
Yeah,
So-
the drought hit it at the wrong time. It's pretty small seed, some of it.
So if I could just get back to that. But I think knowing your competition and letting us know who that is, so that and I agree with you, Lee, 100%. If you're chasing the lowest common denominator, you're going to end up with the lowest sales, right? So that's why I just wanted to know what you guys, that you understood that is your goal is to sell a quality product and I think that's a very important.
We kind of talked to before we come down, and we got to remember we could get a year where we have ergot and fusarium, and then he's got an extra 300,000 wheat to clean, right? That's the whole reason we put in that color sorter, is to grab that market when it's available.
And I understand that the mobile guys are not able to do at that level.
No, they don't have color sorter.
Have that person needing your business anyways, or your service.
In the door, right?
100%.
So keep fighting, I guess.
Larry?
With our plant in town here, if somebody phones in, a smaller producer looking for some seed for green feed or anything, do you have a listing of people that have had their seed cleaned that you could get some from, or
That's a tough one to go with, because technically, as a farmer, I'm not supposed to sell you clean seed, but it happens.
it happens at a lot of the
It
seed
happens. I
plants?
do it. Everyone else does it, but
Most of the seed cleaning plants that I'm aware of, Larry, in that case are dealing with licensed seed growers.
Okay.
So all they're doing, I mean, a lot of them have arrangements where they've set up extra
And
bins
there, yeah.
that they rent. And so when it gets into us being a middleman between seed, it's not something I want to touch with a 10-foot pole.
Because it's a scale acceptor, but it is an option for smaller producers. Right. And that way they know we know they're seeding seed that's been cleaned.
Right, yeah.
Okay, that was the question then.
That's kind of it's funny, I'll put it in a different term. That's kind of like the teachers and grad parties. They know what goes on, they know what happens, but there's no way in hell that they want to be implicated in anything that goes on, because if some seed company, a breeder comes and says, hey, you're selling my seed and you didn't collect the royalty, or you didn't follow that, that's not something that.
I collected the royalty, I just didn't give it to you.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed this morning when I clicked on the Boomerang Bulletin, there was an ad on there from the Starland Seed Cleaning Plant. So I was just thinking, if you're wanting to push out some communication, those are free. If you just put ads on every community has a community bulletin on Facebook, sort of thing. Just a quick and easy, just share a little link or a poster or something, and just something to attract them to Stettler again.
And Mr. Chair, if I can, from my side, I think you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. I had full confidence in what you guys were doing. I think you had the right people in place, and good to see Lauren come on. So
Is this the first time you guys have met Lauren?
first time I've met Lauren.
That's right. Yeah. You know, I think you've turned it around really well. I mean, you've got a strong board, and I'm happy with what I'm hearing, how much progress you've made already. And if you're already up 50,000 bushels from last year, like you've got a lot of seed cleaning ahead of you yet before it goes in the ground. So you'll gain, I'm sure.
Yeah, it may come in too, you never know, right? I've never been at any of the plants where it hasn't been there in the spring.
Yeah, usually we start getting a lot of, I guess you'd say, samples about now, guys thinking about it. Not everyone.
The bears come out of hibernation
Yeah.
and realize that planting is right around the corner, and they haven't done anything with that 1,000 bushels or
Yeah.
15. You know, the challenge with that business is it's generally not the big lots, and there's a lot of work in between in terms of clean outs and management. But
AAA Farmers is in April, August, and Arizona. So it's not April yet. They might still be in Arizona.
in the 30s, they call them suitcase farmers.
Yvette?
So just a couple questions. Could the county assist you with promoting the seed cleaning plant? We could do like a 2-page in the county connections. We could even put the seed cleaning plant on the front page.
Great. That would be
You know, like Nikki could help write up an article, and we could put pictures so you guys could point us in the right direction for pictures. It's got to be coming up here. I'm thinking, like, is it June? Oh my God. Yeah, okay. I'm still dreaming. The other question I had was, do you guys know going forward for this year if you're going to still require help from the county, because just for budget purposes?
I'll never turn down money. Farmer. We would, yeah, that would help us immensely if we could get a little more help. We're hoping that the grain comes in and we can sustain ourselves through the summer. Like Lee said, we'll have a couple months there where nothing's going on, or Lauren will be in there working, doing a little upkeep. He's made a list of a honey-do list that he'd like in there to make it a little easier for him. But yeah, we would greatly appreciate that if it was a possibility.
Mr. Chairman, is there a possibility of doing a mail out or something for the seed cleaning plant? I mean, we have the capability of being able to do volume mail outs, maybe hitting some people that they haven't been able to hit. I mean, of course, it would hit our urban population as well, but I mean, having some experience into that isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, we could do something like that. We could also, feature them on our webpage, especially now when people are thinking about cleaning seed. We could also set them up with us at the county fair. We've got a pretty big stake in the county fair, so we could get them in the county fair.
I'm thinking of something immediately, right? Because it's strike while the iron's hot, right? Now's the time to get it. If we could get out a mail out within the next week, I think it would probably help to initiate some of the thought process of some of the individuals. Right?
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate them. Most guys would have ran, but you guys stuck with it. I know Anne, she's amazing.
Great. Great.
Yeah. So, you're in very good hands, and Lauren seems like a great hire. So, congratulations. You guys have turned it around.
Lee's done most of it. I'm just a face.
So,
Lee's the guy.
I'd make the motion that we instruct administration at County of Stettler to help do some promotion and advertising for the seed cleaning plant. Of course, we would do that in conjunction with you. We would never assume what we're putting out is what you want to have put out. But I think it's something sooner than later in the form of a mail out, and then also some features on our website as well.
In discussion piece before we vote on that, Justin Stevens, one of our board members that couldn't be here today, reached out to me, and I think he understands your communication. You need to strengthen your communication, and he had two suggestions. One, which was join the county booth at the county fair, which Yvette has already read up. His other suggestion was just tossed out there is, what about a small booth at the trade show coming up in Stettler? There are 5 small booths left, and they're only $315. So do you think that would target any traffic that might be good for your plant? That was just a couple things Justin had thrown out for further discussion. And Andrew and Farah.
I was just gonna ask for the motion. Did you want to put a budget on it? Mail out could be a couple grand.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And Farah?
For the Central Alberta Agronomy update that we did last week, we reached out to the seed cleaning plant, but the timing didn't work out for them to come and work at the trade show there. So we've already kind of started on promoting with them. So we're on the right track.
Okay. Yeah, there's lots of options here that I think.
So my motion would be that I'll add to my motion that the friendly amendment from the ghost that's not here to add on, if it works into the seed cleanings plant's ability, that we would increase that budget from 2,000 to 2,500, allowing them to utilize a small booth at the Stettler trade show paid for by the county of Stettler, but you guys would have to man it and look after it. Is that clear? Enough for admin? We'd cut you the check, but you guys got to man it.
So does council want us to, because we are going to be bringing back our final budget, hopefully April, May at the latest, to budget for the grant again for the Stettler Seed Clinic plant, and they'll let us know if they need it or not.
Got to ask council that.
Well, we can bring it to council, but it's nice to give a recommendation from the Ag Service Board.
Board recommends.
Let's vote on this and then we'll make a recommendation.
Before we vote on this one, is this a recommendation to council or is this coming out of ASB budget? Depends what budget it comes out, how we vote or make the motion.
Technically speaking, ASB shouldn't be making any financial motions, even if you're on budget. However, you are the same 7 councillors.
So I'll make the motion.
Administration.
We instruct administration to bring this to council tomorrow.
Got it, legally right. Okay. Got it. Okay, any discussion further? All in favor? Carried.
Mr. Chairman, I would make the motion that we send to council for deliberation tomorrow as an add-on to look at increasing or continuing with the grant to the Ag Service or to the seed cleaning plant from, I don't know, where did we do it last time?
We took it out of operations and for backup out of the rural development fund.
Let those guys tomorrow figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, all motion that, all in favor of James's motion to bring that one back for budget. And that one's carried as well. Okay, well, we're running into.
The only other question in terms of support, and we talked a little bit about it a year ago, and there may be nothing, was are
are there any grants or programs or anything that are going on provincially? I know, I look back, unfortunately, the timing of the implementation of the color sorter was probably bad timing, because shortly after, there was a whole bunch of efficiency initiatives and a whole bunch of stuff that we missed out on. But I guess that's the only place where I look at you guys or some of the administration, Lorraine Hankins doing the third Martha, she's the queen of grants. So somebody like that maybe has an eye on, is there anything that we can maybe work towards with you guys to, outside of the regular funding?
The grants that I know of are more producer focused, but I could do a quick look through and see what I can find.
I will look into that.
Be back to you if we can find something that might be a fit. Did you have anything else to add to your presentation? Okay.
Where'd you get that beard?
So tomorrow at this time, it'll be off. So I can't take it anymore. It's the hair that's worse than the beard.
Okay, and any more questions from the board? Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you guys. We appreciate all the help and everything you guys do for us. It helps immensely.
Well, it's a bonus to our community to have you guys.
Yeah. It's refreshing to see how well you're doing with it, so that's great. So I guess our next meeting is March 26th for ASB, and then I'll ask for a meeting for adjournment. Ernie? Yeah, Ernie makes the motion.
You want a question or you?
I know what it is. All in favor? Carried. And